Arsenal 2, Brighton 0, alongside the former Liverpool defender Stevie Nicol to go through this one and the rest of the early games in the Premier League on Sunday. And pretty comfortable for Arsenal, Stevie, by 2-0. What did you make of their performance?
Do you know, I think I'm going to kind of have to look at this game through the eyes of Arteta.
Okay.
You said comfortable, and when the second goal hit the back of the net, then it was exhale, game's over. But the truth is, 5 minutes before that second goal, Brighton should have levelled the game, which should never in a million years should they have been close to being anywhere to getting level. I mean, you talk about a pile of half chances that Arsenal had. Never made too many clear-cut chances. Probably the best chance of the whole game for me was from Odegaard that he should have put in the back of the net. Took an extra touch. They ended up getting a corner, and they actually got the goal from the corner, the first goal. But as far as clear-cut chances, with the possession they had, with the amount of ball they had, with the amount of time they spent, and that final third of Brighton's, this game should have been over way, way, way before that second goal from Havertz hit the back of the net.
Well, the first goal, from Gabriel Jesus at the back post, came from a corner that was flicked on inadvertently by a Brighton defender. Now, let's rewind the clock about 30 seconds. I love the way that Roberto De Zerbi has Brighton playing. But when you're trying to play out from the back, involving the goalkeeper, and it was his screw-up, his bad pass that ultimately led to Arsenal's corner. There's a time and a place for that. I get it. But do the rewards outweigh the risks when you're playing from the back, including the goalkeeper?
Well, the easy answer is no, because of that, down the line, the ball's ended up in the back of the net. And it's the only way that it seems Brighton are going to play. And if you have a front line in particular who have pace and who can close the ball down properly, then you're just gambling all the time. I mean, they're playing little passes and little 1-2s and little triangles in their own penalty box, Brighton, with the centre backs, with the goalkeeper. I mean, really, you talk about risk and reward. The risk when you're passing the ball around your own penalty box with 3 and 4 of the opposition breathing down your neck, it's too much of a gamble. That risk is not worth it. And the one thing that does bug me, and I can't figure out, is why, because you've got players passing from the back, you've got the opposition closing down, there's got to be big holes. And you've got Ferguson and Brighton, who's a big, strong Irish boy who can hold the ball up, drop the ball into him. I mean, it seems to me too obvious, but it clearly seems as though that's not the way that Brighton, and not just Brighton, but a lot of other teams are just. Well, they've got the flag up the mast, and this is how we're going to do it. This is how we're going to fly it. And if it goes wrong, I'll take the responsibility. Well, I'll tell you what, when that ball hits the back of your own net on a regular basis because of what you try to do, then that becomes a little harder to swallow.
I don't want us to sound like two dinosaurs. Just get the ball rid, get clear, because they've been a breath of fresh air, Brighton. It's just when you do it and where you do it, I would suggest. And when you're using that goalkeeper, who's all right with his feet, but one screw up, it leads to a corner and it leads to a goal, and suddenly you're playing catch-up. So they go 1-0 down, and Kai Havertz scores the second goal. He's in a good bit of form right now. What is a Kai Havertz, Stevie Nicol?
Well, he's a guy that Arteta wants to get in the box when they're going forward. I mean, that's what he is. And, I think we're seeing against teams like Brighton, against teams that they're supposed to beat, then, what he's not capable of doing behind the ball doesn't really particularly matter that much because they've got enough to cope with the opposition. I think the problem we have is in, big games against the best teams, what he lacks behind the ball is going to hurt them. There's no question when he gets in the penalty box, when he gets fully confident, because I don't think he's quite there yet, then that's where you'll see the decision from Arteta to play this guy in that sort of position working. But in the big games, I don't think you can risk a Havertz.
Speaking of the big games and maybe what's missing, I don't think Arsenal are far away from potentially winning the Premier League title. But I do think they need a striker. Now, if they were to sign a world-class striker in January, and that's a big if, because no one's wanting to sell a world-class striker in January, and as a result, the price would be what the price would be. Could a world-class striker for Arsenal be the difference between them lifting the Premier League
100%.
again come the end of the season and not?
Look at Haaland. All you got to do is look at Haaland last year. I mean, the guy. I was going to start talking about Haaland there, but no. If they had a goal scorer, if they had a proven goal scorer on the end of all the great build-up play, then absolutely it takes them to another level. Basically, you know, the amount of half chances that they had and the amount of time they spent in Brighton's final third, and not just in Brighton's, but particularly this season, without getting the ball in the back of the net. My goodness, if they had a proven goal scorer, a guy who guarantees them 25 goals a season, let's say, then this is the difference between them winning the Premier League and not winning the Premier League. I think that is absolutely obvious, but it doesn't seem as though that's what Arteta's going to do. But unfortunately for him this year, all his top goal scorers from last year, Martinelli and Saka, you know, Odegaard, are not finding the net as regularly as they did this time last year. And so they need a goal scorer, and that's not Jesus. So as good as Arsenal are, I think that's the final piece of the puzzle, to be quite honest with you.
Because Gabriel Jesus is a really good striker, but he's not a great striker, is he?
No. Listen, most teams would have Jesus up front, but we're talking about Premier League. We're talking about Champions League. We're talking about the difference at the very highest level. And I think every successful team needs a proven goal scorer. And I don't think Arsenal possess that right now.
Talk to me, Stevie, about the difference Declan Rice has made to Arsenal since he came in.
I don't think there's a team in the Premier League or in European football that would not have this guy in a team. He walks into any team on the planet today. Yeah. You know, we can spend time talking about how he breaks things up, how he starts things, how he gets himself in the box. I mean, he does have an eye for the pass. Doesn't get to use it because Arsenal are pretty much in the opposition half and the final third. On a regular basis, so we don't really get to see that part of his game. But yeah, I think the simplest and easiest way to describe Declan Rice is he plays in any side on the planet.